Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for participating in this webinar. I am re-recording this webinar because we had some issues yesterday. So I wanted to just, start with that and make sure there's going to be some people that watch this again and are going to wonder why it's a little bit different. So I will go ahead and get started. Again, I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It's obviously near and dear to my heart. I've been working on weight loss for many, many years and really excited for really where we've come in this industry. So let's go ahead and get started. So the learning objectives for today are to discuss why weight loss attempts fail 90% of the time. We will talk about metabolic health and why it matters so much. I will talk about different fat stores in the body. We'll talk about evidence-based nutrients that can really help mobilize the inflammatory fat stores, and really the importance of a foundational approach to weight loss, because most people understand that weight loss is multifactorial, but we often have to remind ourselves of kind of the nuances and the different approaches that are really essential for our patients. And then I'm going to talk about our turnkey weight loss program protocols that we have created over the years and really help you see how those can be life-changing for you. Again, this really is designed for, nutrition or dietitians, professionals, anyone really that's working with patients on, weight loss. So a little bit about myself, because I think it's kind of important. Most people don't even know who I am, but I've always had a passion for digging deep into understanding why and how things work. It just has always been my approach to learning. And, now that I'm in this business and I'm really trying to better understand the body and how it responds to certain things and how the body becomes, dysfunctional and doesn't respond the way that it normally should and that type of thing. So it's always kind of been innately a part of who I am, but this is now part of, my career. So it's pretty cool. Like all of us, we all have had our different experiences and lessons that we've learned in life. And for many of us, it has become kind of what drives us every single day. So, I never had a weight problem. I had gut issues, severe gut issues, and that really took me down the path of even learning another whole part of the body that I, probably would have ignored had I not experienced some of the things that I went through. But as a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and working in the conventional system for a while, I really learned that the conventional system was flawed. I just felt like, even early on, I just felt like it wasn't designed to protect us. It wasn't helping us improve our health. And then I later realized that, the system is really, in my opinion, is designed to get us sick and basically manage our illness. And so I am very upfront about how I feel about just our health, our nation's health and that type of thing. And my goal is really to kind of open people's eyes to things that you might just not even think about. You just kind of are going with the narratives of every day. You listen to what's on the news and, it just is what it is. But my main goal too is not only to help you better help your patients, but it's also to really bring awareness to adapting to the modern world that we live in. So when I decided to start a weight loss business, now going on 10 years ago, I did this because I saw that there was just so much misinformation out there, and I knew that I could be part of, a necessary change. So my background, I went to undergrad, so I am a Badger. I played soccer at UW-Madison, went on to work on a master's degree at Mount Mary University. And then, shortly after that, I really immersed myself in this integrative health and functional nutrition world, which is really how we practice now. I'm a certified leap therapist. So my life before career, before school, well, not before school, because I played soccer after, but up until I was, in my early 30s, I played soccer. I played professional soccer. Like I said, I played, in college. So it was a big part of my life. So that I think really supported just my desire of health and how the body works and how to perform at, the optimal level. So it all kind of work together, fit together. And, now I just feel very fortunate that I was able to kind of bring all those worlds together and kind of create my own business. So Weightless MD is the name of my business. I opened in 2015. I am the only medical weight loss clinic owned and founded by a registered dietitian. This is, in my opinion, very important because the medical weight loss market is a very simplified version of kind of weight loss. It's usually you will find no dietitians that work in medical weight loss. You will find no nutritionists that work in medical weight loss. You will typically find, nurse practitioners or maybe a doctor owns a medical weight loss, and the model is very straightforward. It's, a handful of different medications and then probably just like the keto diet or something like that. So I come on board and I completely kind of change the way people look at medical weight loss, because we are medical, but we definitely bring in that entire, holistic approach, foundational healing to the full picture. And the foundation for me always is about the food. And it's not only about the food, it's about healthy food, because if you're not fueling your body with healthy food, you will just continue the rat race. You're going to continue on the hamster wheel. You're going to keep trying, you'll make a little progress, and then you'll go back down. So we really push that really, really hard in my business. We're big into looking at root imbalances, root causes in the body. And when I say I really, I'm the sole owner. I hired a dietitian early on. She's also a functional nutritionist, and she's helped me create a lot of the programs over the years. So we create all of our programs because we are really trying to be strategic. We are trying to address, various layers of imbalances in the body so that while people lose weight, they are getting into a healthier state of health. So we consider ourselves experts in weight loss. It's what we do all day. We don't offer anything else. It's not a side business for us. So we definitely, I think, are pretty cutting edge as it relates to the market. I franchised my business in 2022, so I do have some additional locations in other states. And recently, I decided to create a platform called Weight Loss RD, and this is really going to be a platform for dietitians, nutritionists, and it really can be for any type of practitioners that are working with patients for, specifically for weight loss. So the Weight Loss RD platform essentially is the non-medical part of the business. And like I said, it's really designed for nutrition and weight loss professionals. The protocols that we have created, the programs that we've created are comprehensive and they are turnkey. And they come with an integrated app. We have created all of the meal plans that go with it, all of the videos that patients will need as they go through the program, the recipes. We've created all the recipes. So everything is essentially turnkey. Our programs are online or on site. We do many 100% virtual programs, even though we have physical locations. And the platform right now offers 3 different 30-day weight loss programs. We do have 2 whole body healing programs as well. And we're always working on different ways to kind of, hijack the body and really find a way to get the body into that healthier state because of just all of the dysfunction, the metabolic dysfunction that the majority of people are dealing with now. So when you think about weight loss, and I still see people doing this, even dietitians, nutritionists, we want to go to the calories. That is just what we were taught for years. And so while, again, I'm not saying calories are not important, but you cannot assume or go around helping people by cutting their calories or telling them to exercise more. The body is in a different state of health. It is very sophisticated. And by just continuing to modify meal plans and cut calories, will really get you nowhere. And, when I think about years ago, because I don't think really a lot of the education just in the conventional system has changed much. I mean, I know the food guide pyramid has slightly altered, over the years, but when you think about it, you look at this food guide pyramid, you look at My Plate, you're like, okay, what, I mean, does that, we have this on like some government websites and things like that, but, we're not talking about it in schools, and we're not talking about it, to people that are going in to see, doctors and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like, maybe that was a good thing because I always felt like the food guide pyramid was completely flawed in how we were advising people. I don't think there's many people that should be eating, 11 servings of breads and starches every day. So I always said, if we would just flip the pyramid upside down, that would be, a more realistic guide of how we could get our body into a healthier metabolic state. So again, it's just kind of from the beginning, you kind of see these things and you really have to take a step back and kind of think like, what are we really doing to help our, not only our patients, but our nation just get to a healthier state? Because it's not good. When you look at how the obesity rates have tripled over the last 40 years, we can't get into the dogma, the information that goes around about how, oh my gosh, people are just, they eat too much, they're lazy, they're addicted to sugar and carbs. And it's like, that to me at the beginning, I was like, wow, yeah, people, why are they making these choices? But over time, it just really hit me hard where I'm like, there's definitely something else going on. There's something going on. We can't all, at once just kind of lose our willpower and, ignore just innate signaling in our body. It's not, humanly possible. So I'm just going to lay out a couple things that kind of lead into, basically supports this whole, idea or the whole, healthcare system and how it has so drastically changed. But here are some of the facts. 85% of diseases that people have are preventable diseases. So these are lifestyle diseases, they're not genetic diseases. So that in itself is a little mind-blowing. 95% of Americans have some sort of metabolic dysfunction. We're going to talk about metabolic dysfunction. It could be as simple as, oh, you have high blood pressure, to you have full-fledged, diabetes. So, but 95%, and I think it's actually even more because they're looking into the metabolic health. There's several studies that have been done. And so they're showing like the range of 95 to 98%. When people go to medical school, doctors, they become doctors and they're trained in medical school. They are trained on pills. They are trained on algorithms to give a pill for every ailment. There is zero training on nutrition. There's zero training on lifestyle and how to prevent certain conditions. They are told and they are taught that how you treat people is by giving them a medication. So that, as you can imagine, is a problem. And that's why our doctors are not, on board with with the nutrition aspect and things, because it's just how they're trained. They're not bad people. It's just how they were trained. There's no coverage for health and wellness or preventative health. Zero. I am a cash business. I have to be a cash business because we don't support preventative health. I mean, it's totally nuts. But the insurance companies and the government will fully support an individual being on, a slew of medications, some people on more than 20 medications. They'll approve of a surgery at a drop of a hat, but yet they're not going to pay for us really trying to help people, help educate them on how they can prevent all of these horrible diseases as they get older. So most people understand that the pharmaceutical industry runs basically the world. I mean, they're a trillion dollar industry. So they do fund very, very important organizations and associations. And most people don't realize that the government funds the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And that, again, that is, I won't get into that because that's a personal thing for me, just because of what I saw over the years. But pharma also funds medical schools. They fund the media. They fund professional associations, including the American Diabetes Association, Heart Association. They're in everywhere because they have the money. So all of the policies are altered based on who's the one putting food in their mouth. So it's corrupt, right? I mean, there's going to be obviously many different layers and nuances to all of this, but the grand scheme of things, we have a very corrupt system. And then you look at our schools. I mean, we are feeding poison to our kids. We are feeding SnackWell. Is that what it is now? The Lunchables. Lunchables were just approved. There are, I want to say, probably more like 30 chemicals in a Lunchable. There's so many preservatives. I mean, this is what we're feeding our youth. And then we're wondering why they have obesity, why they're tired, they have ADHD, they're suffering from anxiety and depression. I mean, it's honestly, it's appalling. You almost can't, when I have to keep saying these things, it's almost like you just can't even believe that you have to say it. And then the other part, obviously, is the ultra processing of foods that is now really non-food. So our food staples, grains, dairy, soy, seed oils, corn have all become non-food chemicals, and now they're just destroying our gut. They're destroying our health, and we're consuming this stuff on a daily basis. So if you haven't noticed by now, our system is making us fat. So again, my whole theory, obviously they're making us fat because, then we can feed into the pill for every ill type of thing. So we are told to eat fake meat, not real meat. I mean, there was just another study that came out that shows, whatever eating real meat is going to cause whatever, disease along the lines of, your aging. I mean, it's totally crazy. We're told to drink 3 glasses of milk every day. And milk, I mean, nobody tolerates milk anymore. It is one of the most inflammatory foods on the planet because what has been done to the milk. We're told over and over again that high cholesterol is from saturated fat and high cholesterol foods, when that is absolutely not true. Our system manages diabetes. We don't treat it. We keep them in a sick state and we put them on medication. We do the same thing for our obesity. We can fix this stuff, but we choose not to. The food guide pyramid was always, in my opinion, a disease guide pyramid. It was setting us up for failure. And I won't even go down the road of where is the education? Where are we teaching people about health? No, nowhere. It is nowhere to be found. So our system, it's creating a lot of problems, and our food is no longer food. It is essentially, the majority of it is ultra processed and poisonous. So before we can help people lose weight, we have to understand some of this. We can't fix it. we have to understand it and we have to be able to adapt and hijack it. And so that is the point of me talking about all of this, because you may or may not agree with me, but you know, if you start going down the rabbit hole, you're going to start to realize that this is a crazy world we live in. So that's why I'm here to talk about how we can help our patients. So the first thing, which is very interesting, because I still continue to read, I try to not read as many of the articles in like the conventional like arena, but you know, obesity causes high blood pressure, fertility, sleep apnea, high cholesterol, arthritis, all of that. Like you hear it over and over. We have to get a control over obesity, these obese rates, because it's causing all of these problems. And then when you think about it, when you say that, you know, have you ever thought about that obesity doesn't cause any of that? It doesn't cause any of that. Obesity is actually a result of all the things that is going on in the obese body. So what causes obesity is the metabolic dysfunction that probably started to occur when you were, you know, if you, you know, depending on when you were born, you know, you started to develop this dysfunction, you know, pretty early on, probably in your, you know, your late teens. So just to further explain this, which I'm sure a lot of people are grasping what I'm saying, but if let's just think about this. You're a 130-pound person, you go in to see your doctor, everything is good, checks out, go, you know, continue what you're doing great. Then you go back in and now you've gained some pounds. You're 152 pounds. Now your blood pressure is a little elevated. So we got to get you on some high blood pressure medication. All right, great. So technically you now have metabolic dysfunction because you are altering the body. You're altering normal physiology to get your blood pressure down to a normal level. So then, you know, you're on your medication, you're slowly gaining more and more weight. You go back again and no, you gain 20 more pounds and now you're 175. And now you got a lot of issues. Your cholesterol is high. You have, you know, brain fog, you have sugar cravings, so things are escalating, right? You're not quite obese yet, but things are escalating and the metabolic dysfunction is just snowballing. Before you know it, within 5 years, you are obese or even morbidly obese. So we don't treat obesity the way that it should be treated. We should be preventing and fixing things way early on. We should be educating people. We should help them understand what being on a medication actually means and what metabolic dysfunction actually is. Obesity is multifactorial now, right? I mean, so obviously the standard American diet is a huge problem. So that turns into poor lifestyle habits. You're overstressed because your body is in itself not fed appropriately. So it's an inflammatory state. You're super, you know, you're on overdrive. You can't sleep at night because the hormones are all in balance. You continuously eat toxic foods. We drink, you know, we're inundated with plastic around us. We lather our bodies with who knows what chemicals that are in products and lotions. So we're toxic loaded. It's a huge part of the obesity problem because the liver is burdened. It is overburdened. Now all of the food that we're consuming is destroying our gut, right? So now we have gut dysbiosis. People are walking around with infections all of the time. The gut drives hormones. So now you have hormone imbalances. The gut and the brain are one unit. So now you have cognitive issues. And we continue to be overfed and undernourished. So most overweight, obese people have all of these things going on. It's not just, you don't just have, oh, you have some hormone imbalances. Let's just try to fix that. It doesn't work that way. The body is completely following this trajectory of like just the dysfunction that starts from the diet, the insulin, the blood sugar dysregulation, and that type of thing. So my approach has always been, go to the root, go to the root. Treat, the body is smart. It wants to heal. We can't chase every ailment. We can't chase and put a pill for every little symptom that someone has. That's downright insanity. So we have to look at the foundation of the body. And then when you start to treat the foundation, you start to see things heal on their own. It's just like the roots of a plant or a tree. If a root is damaged, the leaves are they're dying slowly. You fix the root, then all of a sudden, you don't have to do anything to the leaves. They're just going to get better. They're going to come back to life. So it's the same thing, and it's kind of the same approach how we look at people when they're trying to lose weight. So metabolism, metabolic health, you probably haven't really looked at like what a definition is, but I think it's important as I continue to talk about just the dysfunction. So metabolism or metabolic health, whatever you want to call it, it is a chemical or cellular process where the body converts carbohydrates, proteins, and fats into energy, otherwise known as ATP. So we are a human body. We are made up of trillions of cells. We're made up of trillions of bacteria and organisms and fungus, and we're made up of all of that. We are a huge ecosystem, and we need energy or calories to do all of the things, the great things that the body does. So it's not just for, oh, do I have great metabolism so I can burn fat and lose weight? No, it's obviously a little more complicated. So we need energy for the obvious stuff, right? Breathing, blood circulation, digesting food, growing and repairing cells, managing hormone levels, regulating blood temperature, etc. So if we, again, and now it's just popping in my head about the lowering calories. That's why when you think about it, lower calories, when people take that approach over and over, and you're not supplying the substrate for the body to do normal functions, you're just putting your body more into that like dysfunctional state. So metabolic dysfunction could be a single condition or a group of interconnected condition that essentially alters the way your body accesses, creates, or uses energy. I mean, it's kind of as simple as that. We have to be able to create that and utilize it. So metabolic dysfunction occurs years before you get a diagnosis of, say, diabetes, or now you're diagnosed with heart disease, or you have kidney dysfunction, or whatever that may be. The dysfunction happened a long time ago. So now you kind of get the gist. The body is not how it was designed to be back, start of evolution. We were living off the land, eating plants, things like that, when actually our genetics have not changed, our environment has. So now we're just like trying to cope because our body is not prepared for all of that. So we have to do something different. So these are just obviously examples of metabolic dysfunction. And like I said, usually everyone has all of them. I remember back in school when they taught us about the metabolic syndrome, where it was like blood pressure, cholesterol, and lipids, or waistline. I think it was like those. And if you had those, you had metabolic syndrome. But now it's like, the list is vast, and you don't have one or two things. You usually have all of them. So the narrative about obesity is all wrong. Not that it really makes that much of a difference for people out there, but I think it's important for us to think about this, that obesity, we can't just wait for people to become obese and then start trying to get them to lose weight. We have to be super proactive about this. Even, if you're in a practice and, not everyone has weight issues, but you're having those conversations about metabolic dysfunction early on, because the body will slowly begin early on to adapt to just these altered metabolic processes. And, before you know it, now you're just incapable of losing weight by all of the things you used to be able to do when you were younger. So this concept is very, very important to understand, because if you don't understand it, you really won't be able to help people. If you continue to just work on the nutrition and like some of the lifestyle stuff and the exercise, which is all super amazing and effective, can be effective to a point, you won't be able to get them to a weight that they're comfortable in, without really getting to the root of the dysfunction. So here's where we're at, and then we'll move on to more of the happy stuff. Okay. So where are we at as a nation? I should have started at as registered dietitians, nutritionists. So we are like the top nutrition experts considered in the world. And so it kind of bothers me because, I take some it I feel responsible, when you kind of think about that, because you can put blame on a lot of things, which I do. I will put blame on, we can't change the standard American diet and things like that. And there's a lot of things that are out of our control, but that's where I was like, I have to find a way to do things different. So anyway, 40% of people have prediabetes, 80% of those don't even know it. So huge problem, because going in, having tested, blood sugars are getting a little high. We're not talking to people until they've crossed the line of like the diagnosis. 12% of Americans have diabetes, 50% have hypertension, 40% of people have high cholesterol, and 2/3 do not know how to control it. And that's even with the statins, because they're not treating the root of high cholesterol. Another whole ordeal. I do a lot of talks on that. But we live in a sick care, not a health care. And so, like I said at the beginning, we have to stop and think how we can start to help. We can start to make a change in this trajectory of health and weight loss, which is our thing. So the body is out of balance. There is approximately 3,500 to 41 calories of in 1 pound of fat. So that is actually true when we learned it in school. 3,500 calories. You reduce someone's calories by 500 a day, you lose 1 pound of fat a week. Perfect, right? I mean, that was crazy, but so the important thing here is to understand that a person, so if there's 3,500 to 41 calories in 1 pound of fat, and you look at someone like this is just one of our InBodies. It says here that this person has 101 pounds of fat. So that would mean if you multiply that of between the range of like the 3,500 to 4,100, they would have 410,000 calories stored in their fat. So that would be close to about 164 days of calories that they could live on without eating food externally, right? So then, when you think about like little things like that, and this is what really got me digging deeper, is why does weight loss stop? Weight loss stop. I mean, because it does. I mean, give it like 2 weeks. Some people will be okay losing for 3 weeks, and then it just stops. So I'm going to help explain the reasons why that happens. The first reason is because all fat is not the same. We have different types of fat stores, and they serve different purposes, and they have varying functions. So I'll kind of review that. So we have 3 main types of adipose tissue. We have white adipose tissue, we have brown adipose tissue, and beige adipose tissue. So white adipose tissue, as you can see here, this is adipose tissue that you will find in the subcutaneous fat. So like, the pinchable stuff, but it's mainly in the intra-abdominal kind of visceral area. So that is the, again, the fat storing. So this particular fat store or fat cell will store energy. So when you eat, it goes right in for storing purposes. Then you have your brown adipose tissue. This is a more metabolically active fat cell. It's located kind of all over the body, like around the neck, around the kidneys, the shoulder area. It can really be all in all different areas of the body, but it's healthy fat, and it works to expend energy. So to, use the calories to produce energy and produce heat and all of that, all of those different components. And then you have beige adipose tissue. So beige adipose tissue is kind of like, acts more like a neutral fat cell, meaning it doesn't do a lot. It can do some fat storing, and it does have some thermogenic potential. But the nice thing about beige adipose tissue is that it can transform into different fat cells. So that is why, when you hear about these different techniques like cryotherapy or fasting, sauna, some other things where it has this thermogenic potential to convert the beige fat cell into a brown fat cell. So that's why some of those techniques can be very helpful in helping people lose weight, because you're changing the distribution or the number of types of fat in the body. So just in summary, white fat makes you fat, brown fat makes you healthier. And this is just a nice little picture because it kind of shows you what a cell is made up of. Okay, so here's the fat droplet in the white cell. This is very energy storing, right? And then you have your mitochondria, which is the energy it's the furnace of every cell. There's up to, I think, 1,000 mitochondria in every cell. Like, it's crazy. They are, it's what keeps obviously us alive. And so what you'll notice in the white cell is that there's not many mitochondria. And then you look at the brown fat cell and you can see that it's full of mitochondria. And then you notice that the fat droplets are smaller. So this is crucial for many reasons. I mean, I already talked about the main reasons or the main differences. But what's important, which we'll talk about in like the next slides, is that these little droplets, different types of fats need to get into the mitochondria and in order to be used for energy. So when you look at a fat droplet like this is not getting into the mitochondria to be used. So that's why weight loss resistance happens, because if you have a lot of white fat cells, your body is ignoring it. So you can have all the calories stored in your fat that I just mentioned here, but your body's not using those fat cells. So that is why people have become resistant. So the mitochondria, just so everybody, I mean, everybody understands what the mitochondria is, but since I have a slide on it, because I obviously thought it was important. So the production of energy, or ATP, in every cell of the body, it's a big regulator of our metabolism, promotes the growth of new cells, helps detoxify the liver, helps build components of blood and hormones, and it's involved in various cellular activity and cell growth. So it is essential. In the cellular rejuvenation world, they're always talking about mitochondria and mitochondria damage, because a lot of the diseases of modernity, which is our diseases, is causing the death of, or the breakdown of the mitochondria in the cells. So we have to save our mitochondria. So just another depiction of the different cells and how they, from a very simplified way of looking at it, that's kind of how they differentiate from one another. All right, so when you look at the human body and you start to think about the different fat cells, you have your subcutaneous fat, which is the pinchable fat. Again, it's not damaging. It's just, people don't like it. And then you have your visceral fat, which is deep. The deeper fat surrounds the vital organs everywhere here. So visceral fat is a problem. It's a huge problem. If people have high visceral fat, they have pretty significant metabolic dysfunction. So causes systemic inflammation, increases insulin resistance, and signals the hunger and stress hormones that would not normally be signaled under a normal healthy environment. I am going to talk a lot more about visceral fat because this is kind of where we targeted our programs to really address. But before I do that, I like to start with where where it all began. I mean, and it began with the standard American diet because the standard American diet is has sugar in everywhere. It doesn't even have to be like, sweet food. I mean, it's everywhere. And it's ultra processed, it's high glycemic. Industrialized seed oils are a huge problem. They're causing a lot of cellular oxidation. Our diet is devoid of fiber, so we're no longer getting the fiber that we need. It's non-satiating, non-nutritive, and it stimulates all the dopamine reward systems in our brain. So we just keep wanting more and more and more. But essentially, because of the stress on the body, because of the sugar, because of the inflammatory oils, our blood sugars are all over the place, all over the place. So this is the beginning of the metabolic dysfunction because again, what is the first thing to affect is the insulin. So to get us on a level playing field here, and again, I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence by any means, but when we eat meals or we eat food, obviously our blood sugars will elevate, but we certainly don't want major spikes all day long. So the major spikes all day long is what eventually puts us into that more dire state. So insulin sensitivity starts, then you get resistance, then you have full-fledged metabolic dysfunction, multiple things going on. So how visceral fat is formed is it does start with the insulin, kind of the insulin issue. So obviously, pancreas is overworked, the cells no longer respond to insulin. So the pancreas starts pumping out more. So you have hyperinsulinemia. The insulin can no longer work. Obviously the main goal is we got to get the sugar out of the blood into the cells so it can be used for energy. But that's another conversation of what happens when it gets into the cells, because it can go to different cells depending on how much you're eating and things like that. But essentially, because of the situation that we're in, blood sugar is staying in the blood too long, and the body is not going to go for that. We have many mechanisms to save our life. And because we all know if you have super high blood sugar, there's a good chance that it could be fatal. So what happens is the sugar that stays in there for too long, it does its damage. It's doing its damage because it's causing a lot of inflammation, destruction on, the walls of the blood vessels and things like that. But what mechanism is in place is the liver will take over and convert the sugar into fats or triglycerides. And those fats will be stored in the visceral area. So, lipogenesis, the body just kind of basically creates the fats from the sugar. So now the visceral fat becomes an organ on its own. So it does a lot of things. It's not just fat. I mean, it secretes hormones and chemicals that affect the entire body. It secretes leptin that controls appetite, secretes adiponectin that affects our blood sugars. But the big thing it does is it produces cytokines. And now there's an overproduction of these cytokines. So in an obese state, when you have a lot of visceral fat, you have systemic inflammation. You're in an inflammatory state. So, the list goes on at what happens in the body with the visceral fat, but it's just important to know that, it's not about, okay, let's just get this down because people don't like it. It's actually, killing you. So that is like I mentioned, a huge focus for us. So the visceral fat is the white cells. So those are the white cells. They are there. They store stuff. They're trapped. They can't get into the mitochondria, and they just the visceral just becomes a dumping ground for all of the other stuff that your body can't get rid of. Our body has detoxification pathways. It has an amazing way to get rid of stuff, but it cannot do it anymore. So it gets rid of what it can. Whatever it can't, it's going to find its way in the tissue. Wherever that may be, it's going to find its way, but a lot of it goes right into the visceral fat. And so hence this cycle continues because people are trying to lose weight, but the visceral just keeps getting bigger, and they might be losing like the subcutaneous a little bit, and then it stops. So it's frustrating. And then again, the downhill spiral continues. So the visceral fat, again, is very inflammatory. When you have inflammation, a normal mechanism in the body is to alert the immune system. You hurt yourself, you slice your arm, the immune system is alerted because of the inflammation, and it calls on all the different T cells, blood cells to heal the injury. So what happens in this chronic inflammatory state is the immune system now becomes very confused and overworked as well. So because usually it's like, okay, localized inflammation, let's go. But now it's like all over the place. So the immune system is, everybody's dealing with immune system issues now. But now you have a gut that becomes leaky, because the immune system basically sits in the gut, the gut tissue. So you have an inflamed gut, you have leaky gut, the immune system is no longer working, or it's working, suboptimally. And now you've just developed an autoimmune condition, which isn't uncommon anymore either. Now people have like multiple autoimmune issues. And this is all, again, going back to the root, which is started because of the food that we're consuming. So it is multifactorial. If you remove the food, we're still going to have toxicity, exposed to us in so many different ways, depending on, what you're consuming, blood sugar dysregulation, metabolic dysfunction. Are you on multiple meds? Do you have autoimmunity? So there's a lot going on. So strategic weight loss is very strategic. So it is our weight loss programs, and this is kind of what strategic weight loss means. We created it so it could mobilize those inflammatory visceral fat cells. We had to get those cells mobilized into the mitochondria so the body could actually start to use it for energy. We have to eliminate toxic foods and inflammatory foods. So in these programs, we have to create a calorie deficit, because as we're mobilizing these certain fat stores and putting it into the mitochondria so the body can use it, we have to create that calorie deficit so the body goes directly to that. We can't try to mobilize fats and eat enough calories, because the body is always going to go to the calories coming in. So we're changing that whole process of how the body accesses calories. And so while every dietitian, including myself, will say, don't ever go on a low calorie diet. That's horrible. You're going to lose muscle. You go into starvation mode. That is very true. We don't put people on low calorie diets, but these protocols, we have to create that calorie deficit during the strategic process. We see insulin resistance reverse, blood sugars rebalance. In our programs, we also support detoxification. Very, 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 very important because of all the toxins that sit in the fat cells. When you start mobilizing these fats, the toxins will come into circulation. And if you don't have adequate, detox pathways, you will reabsorb all of those toxins all over again. So that's why people have heard of like the keto flu, it's because they go into fat burn and those toxins are coming out. So hopefully they had good detox pathways because otherwise they're just going to be reabsorbed. So we work to really support the main detox pathways, liver being, the most important. So again, just a summary on how we do this is we give very strategic nutrients. We create that calorie deficit, and by targeting the weight loss is visceral fat loss. That is what we go after, and that is what we see over and over again. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the nutrients that we use in our programs, our protocols. So some nutrients that are really good for mobilizing fats are acetyl L-carnitine, forskolin, B vitamins, rhodiola, and astragalus. So I have spent many years digging into the research and we've done several studies on different supplements and different nutrients and trying different weight loss programs with people. Some worked, and obviously the ones that we offer now worked really, really well. Or I should say some didn't work, but the ones now obviously worked. So these are some of the nutrients for the fat. We do add some of the nutrients to help with hunger, reduce hunger. So Garcinia cambogia, chromium, and maca can be really effective for that. But I always tell people, and I always tell patients too, that you shouldn't be hungry because we're mobilizing those fat stores. We're using those fat stores, and when those fats start to be used for energy, that communicates to the brain, and then the brain is the one that basically drives your appetite. So most people, they can't even believe that they're so full on the specific plan that they're on. But that's why I have to explain to them, it's because you're getting what you need. You're just not getting it through the external calories. So it's a very, very cool, interesting process. Some people have more of like the psychological or emotional hunger, which, that's more of like missing food or need food versus just, like real hunger. And we have to protect the muscle. We have to protect the muscle. If you are helping people with weight loss and you're only looking at their weight, then that you can't do that because you can really put people into a metabolic mess if they start losing muscle. And so we do add some extra nutrients to help them maintain that and for protein synthesis and things like that. But we're measuring all of that. So we have 3 different programs that fall under like our strategic weight loss programs. These are 30-day programs. They're all slightly nuanced, but they're all accomplishing kind of the weight loss aspect of it. The 3 main things that they do: they target that visceral fat. We rebalance blood sugar. So people have when you have normal blood sugar balance, so many different things just improve. And then we decrease inflammation and the toxic load in the body. So these are not only a weight loss program, it's basically a total body reset. And we see it over and over. People lose the weight. They stop, they go on vacation. Maybe they didn't do great. They ate more than they hoped that they wish they hadn't, and they come back and they're shocked that they didn't gain weight. And I always have to explain to them, I'm like, you are more metabolically resilient. You are not where you used to be, so things are not going to be the same. So that always kind of opens their eyes to the fact that their health has changed. So our HCA Lean contains 3 different products: synergistic nutrients. This is awesome for people that, because some of our programs, we don't want people to over exercise and be in that carbohydrate sugar burn mode. We want them to be in a fat burn. But this particular program allows people to exercise at a relatively higher intensity. These are some of the key synergistic nutrients that we use for this particular program. HC2 we created because I wanted to bring in a detoxification and liver support component. because a lot of people are dealing with elevated, liver enzymes, fatty liver, and things like that. So this is really, really awesome. And again, not only you get the fast weight loss, but you support and start to clean up the liver. So some of the synergistic nutrients are noted there, and you can see some of the top ones that most of you are probably very familiar with. Human chorionic gonadotropin. I have done multiple webinars on this because I think a lot of people still kind of have that perception of, oh my gosh, very, very bad, very, very dangerous and that type of thing. But we did it for years. We also offer the injections, but this particular one for this platform is a homeopathic sublingual drops. And so this is amazing at really targeting the visceral fat. It also has the ability to kind of reset the hypothalamus in the brain because of HCG and what that does. It's very hormone balancing as well. And like I said, we do a lot of the injections, but we have had just significant success on the HCG drops as well. So what can somebody expect in 30 days? Like I said, they can expect 15 to 25 pounds of fat loss, decrease inflammation in the body, improved insulin sensitivity, normalized blood sugars, and just improved metabolic health. We are not in the business to tell people to start getting off of their medication, but we are definitely having conversations with people about working with their doctor, talking to their doctor about, working together on starting to get off some of these things, because people are very, very motivated to start getting off all the medications. They do not want to be on it. So again, that is not what we don't step on any relationship with doctors or anything like that. But I think it's definitely important to have those conversations with patients, because they might, if they don't, they may be taking a dose that's no longer a good fit for them. So these are just some of our patients. Kind of we'll roll through these. These are all the 30-day programs. They went on to probably lose more, but these are just the results in 30 days. So this particular person started at 231 and went to 211. So lost 19.4 pounds. This particular person lost 17 pounds, but noted here, so we look at visceral fat, the highest on our body composition is 20. So she started at 18 and then went down to 11, which is very close to a normal level now. So you can imagine what that does to your metabolic health. This particular person lost, my glasses on, what is that? About 20 pounds. And visceral fat went down. So again, this works any age. We have patients of all ages. This guy lost even closer to 30 pounds. Visceral went from 17 to a 12. 10 is considered normal. So again, really, really great. Oh, and then, just noting the muscle mass. So you lose almost 30 pounds and you've lost 0 muscle. So that's incredible. This young lady, 20 pounds, or actually 30 pounds. I think she actually did 2 rounds. Visceral fat of 18 went to 12. Muscle mass, had a little bit of muscle mass loss there, which usually if we do see some muscle mass loss, we have them come in like a month later for another assessment, and usually we see that start to rebound. I'm not going to go into all the explanation for that, but sometimes you can't just assume that that's like their end line for muscle. This particular guy in 30 days lost 40 pounds, understanding that a lot of these people are inflamed, so they have a lot of inflammation, so that is part of it. But again, just another really successful program. This gentleman lost 25 pounds. This gentleman lost 20 pounds. Again, visceral fat went down. This particular woman lost 30 pounds. Visceral went from 20 to 17. And so you can see that, again, when we can track when we can track exactly the different components of what they're losing, that really, really is so important. This particular young woman lost 20 pounds. Her visceral went from 12 to 8. This is my friend Pete. So he's been on a journey he's been with me. I've been working with him for a while, and he just completely, he obviously changed his weight, but just is like a totally different person. And then this guy, Dan, he is definitely like our biggest loser. He lost 200 pounds in 1 year, and he just continues to do really, really great. And I mean, I'm just like thinking about that picture because I felt like there was one even before that, but he definitely looked even, this was probably close to the end, but not quite. So yeah, it was pretty amazing. So another thing about our protocols are that they are supported also through our app. So what that means, like if you were to do, let's just say that somebody wanted to do a program, we send you the kit, you do the program, we set you up on our app. I don't really need to meet with you necessarily, because you're going to be taken through the program every single day through the app. However, we don't recommend that. We only recommend that for people that have done our programs over and over again and they know how to do it. So you do have the option, you do have that supporting app. There's recipes, meal plans, educational video. There's everything that you would need. There's food log tracking. They can message you through the app. So it is really quite an amazing platform to work with patients. This is just a picture of what the app looks like. All right. So obviously I talked about a lot of different things, and I have created these protocols obviously that are for other private practices or other businesses. But I realize that not everybody wants to pick up the phone and tell me that they want to, offer these types of protocols like in their practice. So I did want to just add a slide on things that I think are really important for someone that is trying to lose weight. So the first thing is the processed foods just needs to be discussed. Like all of this processed, like people are like, well, I don't have time, and I just, I have to buy this and that. It just has to be, slowly kind of weaned off of in whatever way you can. When somebody has metabolic dysfunction, they don't do well with carbohydrates. So we cannot put people on diets that have them eating carbs all day long. You just can't do it. So you have to concoct different ways to give that body a rest so it can start to actually start moving off of the sugar carbs and go into the fat stores. So spreading meals out, no snacking. If you are trying to lose weight and you have metabolic dysfunction, you really should not be snacking, because every time you spike that blood sugar, you are taking yourself you're putting your body in more of like that fat storing mode. You have to get adequate calories. If you keep people on low calories for too long, they're going to start wasting their muscle. We all know this. But a mistake I see people make all the time is they're so focused on the protein, and they're like, oh, I got 100 grams of protein. So good, so good. Why am I losing muscle? Well, because your calories are only 1,100. So if you don't eat enough calories, the protein won't even matter. So you have to make sure they get at least enough of the calories so that the protein can kind of do their thing. You have to exercise. You have to resistance train. You have to lift weights. You have to stimulate muscle. I mean, it just is such an important part to longevity and metabolic health. You can start incorporating the supplements that I recommended. Play with a few. They can be really powerful. And at the end of this, I put together a booklet. My partner put together a booklet, which is super amazing, that will take you through all of that. And so other things, look for other imbalances. You might be doing amazing with some person, and then they just stall. There's something else going on. There might be something else going on. Do they have gut issues? Maybe they're eating inflammatory foods and that's causing a lot of inflammation. Maybe they're, living in a moldy environment, and that causes so many issues for weight loss. So dig deeper. When somebody is really committed to losing weight, this is not a time to say, okay, let's just do things gradually. Because when you have metabolic dysfunction, like gradually it won't get you very far. It's going to take a really long time. So I just recommend that if someone's really motivated, make sure that they're committed for a period of time and you can really go at it, because that's when you're really going to be able to make changes. If they're going to be good on the during the week, and then, they're going to go out and eat all this and pizza and beer and all of that, there is no way that's going to help. So kind of just think about that. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but the other thing is making sure that you're checking the biometrics, make sure you know what they're losing, the muscle, the fat, the lean body mass, visceral fat, etc. And create a plan again for metabolic dysfunction. Be a little bit lower in fat. I love fats, but you want to kind of watch the fats, especially the inflammatory ones. Keep it low carb and make sure the protein's up there. And obviously a lot of vegetables. You want to maybe, tap off at like, one fruit, maybe two fruits a day is probably fine during that time as well. So in summary, to basically to outline, what is important for us as, professionals in helping people lose weight, is that we have to adapt to the environment that's around us, like the diseases of the modern world or modernity, right? So we definitely are a product of our environment. So eating processed foods regularly is really going to keep people in a stuck state. Assume that most patients have metabolic dysfunction, because it's almost 98%. Find a way to measure. If you're working out of your home, or you don't have the ability to buy a fancy scale, because they are expensive, there's home scales now. Really awesome. We have a full program, an online program that we just incorporate it into the patient's cost, and we send them a full body composition scale right at home. So that's a really cool thing. Be able to explain to patients why they're not able to lose weight. They're tired of hearing the same stuff. They're tired of hearing they're getting older, or they just aren't moving enough. People love to understand what is going on, because they're just frustrated. And this is an opportunity to differentiate yourself. Anyone nowadays can offer meal planning, and you can now just create your own, Google. So this is an opportunity for us as clinicians, professionals, experts in this area, where we can really offer so much more and make such a more meaningful change in the future, of obesity statistics and that type of thing. So just to recap for next steps. So again, if you are interested in utilizing the protocols, we have 3 different ones. We have a very comprehensive online training platform. So if you were to use the protocols, obviously you would have access to that, and you, along with anyone else that would work under you or with you, would have ongoing access to that. The integrated app goes with all of the programs. You have your own. You get handouts, menus, recipes, nutrition booklets. Can be 100% online, 100%. This can be sent really anywhere. I mean, there's supplements, so super high grade supplements. We provide ongoing support and innovations. We're constantly creating new programs, and we're working on one right now, more for like the detox component, because there's a lot of confusion out there too. But so that's kind of the offering, the platform that we want to really help other practitioners utilize. And so if any of you are interested, want to know more, email me. My email is right there. I would love to even just get on a call with you. Maybe some people want to even just try a program. That would probably be the best way. But you have to have weight to lose. But there's obviously different ways to go about that. So yeah, I think that's it. Again, this is recorded, so not opening it up for questions, but I would really encourage anyone to reach out to me, answer questions. I would love to, meet you all and talk about it, because obviously we're super excited about it.